Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and launch into our discussion of the bow in Calgary. I was kind of surprised. I was looking at the Calgary newspaper online, and there was a big series of articles about the bow and about how people are embracing it, and even a photo contest. You've already become iconic in Calgary. How is the building developed with the input of the client, and are you surprised that people have embraced it that much?
We're kind of thrilled, and I think one of the, it's always good when projects get given names or have nicknames. So the bow, we have the Gherkin we just talked about in London. These tend to be the buildings that somehow get embraced by the public. But I think the whole process, and we were embraced in Calgary, working with the city and the public. It was always seen as a very positive project, and we had a lot of support and lots of dialogue backwards and forwards with the city as well. So I think it's been a good process, and I think we're just thrilled with the way that it's turned out and how popular it's been. It's been the people working in it love it, and that's a great thing that. We were very lucky to work with a very interesting artist, with Jeremy Plenzer, and I think that the public spaces at the ground plane and the connecting into the +15 connections, which is really part of the kind of Calgary DNA, is something that we kind of embraced, and I think it's great, and the people are really enjoying the public plaza spaces, and you've got children out there playing with Jeremy Plenzer's sculpture, so it's been a good experience.
Yeah, I think that the bow hits it at all three areas in the sense of, on the skyline, it's an American home run in the sense of it's changed the center ice of Calgary from west to east, and now East Calgary is responding to that in a huge way as far as development goes. And inside the bow, it's fantastic space with incredible views and just a lot of natural light coming through. So it's all three areas where you really touch the people of the city and the tenant. Excuse me. It's been terrific.
Of course, the last big kind of social game changer in Calgary was the Olympics. The Winter Olympics was a catalyst for things going on over there. Was that the client's intention going in here, to make this kind of another big social impact or another entity that will change the city?
No, not at all. The client was wanting to do the right space for their own tenancy. After we started with a 700,000 foot building with one tenant, and ended up with two tenants in a 2 million square foot building. And the design started on the 700,000, and it drastically changed, of course, to the needs. But it all started with what were the needs of the tenant, and that's what, working with Foster's gave to that. It moved it into a real building that responded really well to the needs and the community.
Some cultures, probably not Canada, get a little nervous when they get their first. Well, maybe not their first, but a new tall building in town. Is there a high-rise fear in Calgary that had to be overcome? It sounds like this was pretty quickly embraced.
I don't think so at all. It's, that we built to the maximum height we could for that site, in the sense that there's a shadowing to the river that we had to stay within. But it was really a response to, we needed 2 million square feet, and how do we build on the site? So you get a 36,000 square foot floor plate that's scares a developer in the sense of, how do I release this? And so the answer to it was to build it in a bow shape, which gave you lots of natural light. So it's not a 36,000 square foot plate that you have lots of darkness and back room. It's all front space.
I think that's also interesting is that since 2005, when we started, Calgary has really taken off, and we're the first, but there's many other tall towers that are currently under construction or within design, and it's a changing place. It's changed significantly since 2005, and it's continuing to change. And there's new towers planned, new designs are being kind of unveiled, and I think it's kind of a pretty exciting time for the city, because I think that in 2005, when we first arrived, our first visits, it didn't seem like a lot of construction had happened sort of for maybe 20 years or so. There was not a lot of new.
Yeah, it had been a slow place for a while. It's not anymore.
One of your main clients in the building is a petroleum and gas company. Is it kind of ironic or no that sustainability is a big plus in this building with an oil and gas utility company in there.
It was very important to them that it be a green building, I'll say, and we went through the whole LEEDs or not LEEDs discussion, and we ended up wanting to do a very sustainable building, but not be restricted by some of the artificial pieces of that. And it's the two tenants who are in there now, both embrace just how green the building is.
And I think the other thing about it is we have really tried to not only make it a sustainable building for the city, but also for the people working in the building, and the choice of the systems. There's space and ventilation through the floor, having some natural ventilation, creating garden spaces in the sky. Yeah. All these things are giving a better quality of life for the people working in the building. They have more choices, more interaction spaces, have more control over the quality of the air within their spaces, and I think that's a benefit for the people working there. It's a benefit for their productivity and their wellness, and I think those are things which are seen as being very positive by the client as well, as now the building's occupied and being used, and there's 4,500 people working very happily in the building. So.
Yeah, I would point out that garden space, which is very different than anything I've been in the sense of sitting in a garden up 50 floors. It's a different experience.
We're talking about a building with natural ventilation in a very cold climate. How many months of the year can you reasonably expect to naturally ventilate a building like that?
Well, the interesting thing is that the building's operating. We've just been through our first summer. We're just about to start going in towards the winter time, and it's going to be monitored, and we're going to see over the course of time how much natural ventilation we're going to be able to do, how many months we'll be able to use it for. Calgary is interesting in that although it's very cold in the winter time, there's a lot of sunshine. There's a lot of good light, and I think there'll be opportunities through certain days within the winter time to naturally ventilate, as well as the shoulder months before the summertime too. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and Calgary also fluctuates in temperature quite dramatically. You're going to have a Chinook come through, and in February it takes it to 75 degrees in February, and you're in Calgary and you're not expecting that, and that
and
building
you can take
respond.
advantage of it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And the way the atriums are designed, it heats up that cold air, and then can be you've got fresh air that's been warmed by the sun, and again, I think the design of it's going to be it'll be copied in future years.
Is this radically different for North America? This natural ventilation, the design of this building?
No, it's not. It's something that if we can do it in North America, we would, and it's being fortunate to have the right client, the right team, the ambitions of everybody to want to do it, because it's often some of these things get suggested in early design sessions on projects, and for often financial reasons, the door gets closed, or people are nervous about it, don't want to do it, and would rather have a more sealed building, and that's a reality of working in many different places with many different clients. But if we can do it, and certainly a lot of the research that we've been doing recently within the office, I mean, we know there's a benefit if we can have some natural ventilation and the better awareness of outside, and even some more variations in temperature within the working environment help stimulate people, as opposed to it being constant temperature every day or through 365 days of year. And I think that's an interesting thing, and I think people are looking much more towards that now, because the loads are changing. We've gone through an era of masses of computer power creating lots of heat, and that's now changing with the way people are working, and also we're all using mobile devices. We're working in very different ways, and to give people an environment where it's actually they're less tied to their desks now. They can work in different places within the building, and I think that's going to be a trend. And to try and make sure that they have a good environment to work in is really a good thing looking forward.
Any other discussion points, anything else that you're not getting to talk about upstairs that you'd like to bring out?
I think the thing that's interesting as well is that the oil and gas industry for Incarna, it's a very competitive business in Calgary, and one of the things that we looked at the beginning was that in order to attract the best people and retain the best people, they really felt that they wanted to work in individual office spaces, the cellular spaces. And we sort of struggled with that, and through the evolution of the design, in order to give them an opportunity to interact and meet other people and meet each other, that was really where the ideas of how do you create social spaces within the building, and that's really where the idea of creating these garden spaces or sky gardens came from. And then through some work amongst the team, and a lot of people were involved, the idea of almost deliberately trying to create social interactions that kind of was established.
Yep.
So that you come into express elevators which take you up to a sky garden floor where you have a chance to have a cup of coffee, to meet people as you start your day, before you then go into a second elevator which takes you up to your office floor. So you're always passing through these social spaces, and I think that's an interesting idea, and it's something that we had never done before, and we've been really kind of thrilled with how well that seems to work and how happy people are in the building and meeting each other.